Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Arts. I am your host, Patrick D. McCoy. Today, as a part of the MAESTRO series, we are pleased to have Dr. Dana Marsh, the newly appointed Artistic Director of the Washington Bach Consort. Founded in 1977 by the late Dr. J. Riley Lewis, who passed 2 years ago, the consort went through a period of grieving their beloved founder while looking ahead to carry on his rich legacy. Please join me in welcoming Dana Marsh. Good afternoon.
Patrick, it's a true honor to be on your show today.
Thank you so much. And first of all, congratulations on your appointment as Artistic Director of the Washington Bach Consort. You certainly did stand tall among other impressive candidates. What made you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
Well, gosh, that's a wonderful question. It's first, to have an opportunity to direct an ensemble that focuses chiefly on the works of J.S. Bach is just something that doesn't come along very often. It's really, I saw it as really sort of a once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity. And, of course, the Washington Bach Consort itself is renowned as, a really well-oiled machine that puts out wonderful concerts at a high artistic level, an enviable artistic level, and it's just a real pleasure for me to be at the artistic helm of this group.
Now, talk to me about your vision for the consort in the new season. What will regular fans of the consort and perhaps new followers have to look forward to?
Well, it's a very interesting year coming up in that there was a slightly unusual process of doing the programming, and it really came from a wealth of resources from all 5 candidates who were shortlisted for this position. The search committee asked each candidate to submit a proposed season for this coming year, and we all did that. And then the artistic committee of the Washington Bach Consort got together to put together sort of an amalgamation, sort of the best of, if you will, of all of these selections. So as you might imagine, there's an incredibly rich season coming up, and that will be made abundantly clear at the first performance, which comes on Sunday, September 16th, at 3 p.m. at National Presbyterian Church, where we'll hear Bach's Singet dem Herrn ein neues Lied, that's BWV 190, and with the text, Sing to the Lord a New Song. And then Handel's Ode for St. Cecilia's Day and Bach's very well-known Magnificat to finish the program. So that's going to get us off to a real explosive, even sort of fireworks-like start to the year.
I particularly love the Bach Magnificat. When I was in college, we sang that, and that Deposuit Sui Potentis for the tenor is certainly no easy feat.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah, I mean, it's that whole piece, whether it's the choruses or the arias or the 3-part Sushepit Israel, that incredible upper voice movement. It's just one big group of hits, really. And the choruses, any time, as you know, a choir sees Magnificat on the list of menu of repertory for the year, it's always cause for excitement.
Now, talking about excitement, you have quite a busy schedule with balancing not only the Bach Consort, but your academic post at Indiana. Talk to me a little bit about your work with your students there, and will there ever be any maybe hopes for collaboration?
Well, I certainly hope so. I've been now at the Indiana University Jacobs School of Music for 4 years. I'm director of the Historical Performance Institute there, which was one of the first institutes of its kind in this country, founded in the late 70s. And generations of period instrument players, early music singers have made their way through here. In fact, Riley Lewis's first concertmaster, if I understand it correctly, was our professor of violin, Stanley Ritchie. When they moved to period instrument performances, that is, because I know in the early days of the Bach Consort it was modern instruments, and I believe they switched over to period instrument at some point in the 90s. And Stanley was right in there. And in fact, Andrew Fouts, who is the current concertmaster of the consort, was also a pupil of Stanley Ritchie. So there's actually already a strong IU Washington Bach Consort connection in terms of instrumentalists and singers as well. And so it's having been here now 4 years. Some people ask, well, my words, aren't you busy enough? And I know that to some it might seem a little counterintuitive that I would be taking on this other post, but I have to tell you that really the opportunity of working with a group like the Bach Consort gives me more energy than it takes away. I can assure you of that. And I know it doesn't make sense. It's not like saying 2 + 2 = 4, but there is something that keeps me all the more energized in both places just by the sort of complementary nature that the two posts afford each other.
That is great. Thank you so much. Now, you kind of touched on the term early music, and it sometimes, I guess in my view, and maybe you have a different opinion, it could be such a broad term. How do you define early music as it relates to your own experiences and performance?
That's a wonderful question. So early music indeed has meant slightly different things over the last 40, 50 years, which has seen the early music movement, as it's often called, that is to say the return of using period instrument performance for works of Bach or earlier composers, certainly music before 1750. But the ways in which we understand what early music means as a term per se has changed because the focus began very early on, maybe a little closer to Renaissance and medieval music. Then there's a greater focus on Baroque music, which has really sort of taken the lion's share of attention in the most recent decades. But if you can see where we're going now, it's sort of the chronology of what early music means is a moving target, which is to say that there are folks who study historical performance and bring it all the way up to the end of the 19th century, because there's a lot today we're learning even about the way musicians played in the 19th century that's completely different than what we had thought that might be the case, say, 20 years ago. So historical performance itself is merely performing music in such a way that takes into full account all of the sort of historical, cultural context of the time that it was written. And the whole purpose is to bring us closer to the composer in every way that we can. And that's really the whole point of it. And anyone who has heard the music of Bach performed by a really top-notch period instrument group such as the Bach Consort, the excitement's immediately brought to life. Now,
you, in terms of, we've kind of hit on the instrumental side of the consort, but you are a trained singer yourself, and having started as a boy chorister at St. Thomas Church in New York, and you probably have sung most of this repertoire. How will that affect or influence your approach with the singers in the consort?
Well, very strongly, to be sure. Although I was doing a lot of singing professionally from the early 90s to sort of about 2008, about a 16-year period where I was really very strongly engaged in doing a lot of solo and ensemble singing. After that point, I moved more into the directing area and teaching and researching, and that saps up a good amount of time, and I wasn't really able to keep the sort of vocal side of it going. But that said, having had that whole perspective from having been a boy soprano in New York, right up to, singing with groups in the country like the American Bach Soloists, gives me I feel like I have a similar perspective to anybody singing in the Washington Bach Consort. So I feel that also having been an organist, that there's a little bit of an instrumental understanding too. So I feel that at very least I can identify strongly both with the singers and with the instrumentalists. And the interesting thing about performing Baroque music is that even you'll find that instrumentalists want to imitate as much as possible vocal stylism in their playing. In fact, any number of composers and folks writing treatises about how to perform music during the Baroque period always use as their point of departure a sort of cantabile. Even Bach says that in his preface to his two-part inventions, that's really most important, that it's a vocal, it's really a vocal rhetoric and art to start with.
Well, Dana, as we end the interview, I want to circle back to the concert on Sunday, September the 16th, which is really the beginning of your inaugural season with the consort. Were you aware that September 16th is the day after J. Riley Lewis's birthday?
Oh, my words.
J. Riley Lewis's his birthday is on September the 15th. And so Sunday, September 16th. So when I saw the program, I was so happy to see that the music was so celebratory in nature, with the Handel Ode for St. Cecilia's Day and the Magnificat and the Singet dem Herrn, and I love that piece. As I reflect back on being attending many concerts, of the Washington Bach Consort, there's always a sense of community when you go to those consorts. How do you see yourself fostering community as a conductor in the whole Washington area in terms of linking other organizations with the consort or just being a support system?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because when I came to have my audition last December for Christmas Oratorio and got to experience firsthand the consort, it struck me right away from the first piano vocal rehearsal how much that group of singers felt like a community. Almost, it reminded me of working in a parish situation. Not that institutionally speaking it resembled that, but just in terms of how, as a community of people, caring people brought together, that there's really something behind that, and that could only be explained by the influence of someone like Riley Lewis. I never got to meet Riley, but I have any number of friends over the years that have sung his praises, both in performances with him, but also in mentioning their experiences to me. And so I felt like, having met the whole organization from stem to stern, that in a sense I was also meeting Riley Lewis as well. And my goal is really to further, I don't think there can be a better kind of vision for an organization. And that's really how I'd like to help support these coming years.
Well, Dana, it's been wonderful to have you on today, and we certainly want to extend a warm Washington welcome to you as you begin this journey as artistic director of the Washington Bach Consort. And I want to just remind our listeners to please mark your calendars for the consort season opener on September 16th at 3 o'clock p.m. at the National Presbyterian Church. Again, thank you all for tuning in to Across the Arts with Patrick D. McCoy. And to learn more about the Washington Bach Consort, visit www.bachconsort.org. Again, Dana, thank you so much for being with us today, and we look forward to your new season. Congratulations.
Thank you, Patrick. Hope to see you on the 16th.
I will be there. Thank you so much. Again, this has been Patrick D. McCoy with the Maestro series on Across the Arts on Blog Talk Radio. I hope that you will join us again for our next installment, so keep your eyes open on Facebook, on Instagram, for announcements of other installments of the Maestro series. We just finished talking with Dr. Dana Marsh, the newly appointed Artistic Director of the Washington Bach Consort. Have a great day, and